yeah, after First Communion, you did it about the age of 7, and and it was towards the end of first grade. And when you were finished with that, you left the nuns and went to the Christian Brothers took over. Christian Brothers, up through junior infants, senior infants, first grade, it was co-ed. And then there was a division came up at that stage. The girls continued to be educated by the nuns, and the boys went off to the Christian Brothers. Supposed to be more manly treatment. In other words, if you didn't get your lessons right, you had to take it with a stick. And some of the Christian Brothers, they were delighted to have the license to use this stick, because it looked as if they were getting pleasure out of what they were doing. But okay, it was no great problem. It was no great problem for me. I think I had a good memory. You didn't have to work very hard if you had a good memory, because things were repeated, so you knew what. Frankly, I don't remember ever doing homework at home. I suppose I did. Yeah, and I must have had, because you were with the brothers 2nd grade through 6th grade, and in 5th and 6th grade you had to write essays, compositions. So we must have had to do that at home. But it was, I would say it was fairly uneventful. It was fairly basic, the education. You know, you learned mathematics was arithmetic most of the time. And adding, subtraction, multiplication, division, and that. In 6th class, they started us off on algebra, and we hadn't a clue what they were talking about. But where you had English, you had Irish, you had history and geography, and you had mathematics, and Christian doctrine. But no big deal about it. You know, I don't remember any trauma there. I probably wasn't particularly happy, and I wasn't particularly unhappy, you know. It went with the territory that you had to go to school, and we had a small schoolyard, and the entire school would be come out. You had, let's say, you had about 40 per class, and you had five classes, so you had about 200 kids in the school, and we were all out in the same yard trying to play football and running. And it's like putting half a dozen people into a room this size, you know. But I remember, and I may have mentioned it last time, in 5th and 6th grade, we had a brother who was a very good teacher, and he did an awful lot of things. I did mention it the last time. He prepared us for confirmation, which was outside school hours. He ran football leagues within the school, and he took care of these. He prepared us for an annual concert, and we had a dozen plus songs that we had. So, you know, we had a lot of stuff done. But Okay, that was it. At the end of elementary school, we called it primary school, you had a state examination. It was the primary certificate. It was it was the first state examination that we had, and I don't think it was even necessary to have had it to go into secondary school, but anyhow, we had it. That was about the only thing that where you you had outside scrutiny. So anyhow, that's primary school. Yeah, what you did outside of school, you know, you had initially we weren't allowed stray off the property to play with the other children. And I think the reason for that was my mother she was 34. She was, let's see, no, she was, yeah, I think she was 34 when she got married. And I was the last of my two sisters were ahead of me, and then I came along, and she was 39. Well, she was a very old mother, and she was very protective of us. So we were kept in, and we envied the other kids outside, but we found ways of escaping. There was a chicken coop that we had, and there was the hens. They went out. There was a fair green at the back of the house, and the hens used to go out there during the day, and then they'd come back in to be fed and to bed down at night. And there was a little, what we called a slide. They went out. It was about 18 inches by 18 inches. And we used to crawl out through the slide. But then, I think, as my sisters got a bit older, they started moving out, and then I started moving out. And you know, we wandered anywhere we liked. In the fall, we would go out, and you had blackberries growing wild, and we'd collect blackberries, and we'd go out country roads. We might be a mile or two, easily a mile or two away from home. You'd be off with your friends, and you would do it, and we would be looking for birds' nests in the hedges as well. You know, we had a lot of fairly aimless things that we were doing. By comparison with what kids the same age would have today, I would say it was a pretty Spartan diet. There weren't a great selection of books around. So, you know, you didn't spend that much time with your head in a book, and there was no television around. I don't know how we put in our time, but okay.